A fish jumped into her hands, then whispered her dead husband's secret about their daughter's killer. Adaaku, my wife, our daughter did not fall. She was pushed. Those were the words that stopped the widow's heart, not from a dream, not from the wind, but from the mouth of a fish, a golden fish that had leapt from the river directly into her hands, glowing with blue light as the sun set behind her. For 2 years, Mama Adaaku believed tragedy had simply cursed her family. First, her husband Chidubem drowned in this very river. Then, just weeks later, her daughter Somtochi fell from a cliff in the forest. An accident, the elders said. But that evening, when the fish spoke with Chidubem's voice, a horrifying truth began to surface. Her husband had not drowned by chance. He had been poisoned and pushed into the water, not by a stranger, but by her own sister, Uloma, a woman who had wanted Chidubem for herself and murdered him when he refused to betray his wife. And Somtochi, the girl had seen too much. She had noticed her aunt near the compound the morning her father died. When she started asking questions, Uloma silenced her forever on that cliff path. Now the fish carries one final warning. Uloma is coming again. This time with poisoned food. This time to bury the last witness and let her secrets rot with the dead. In the village of Umueke, where the river bends like a mother cradling her child, there lived a woman who had forgotten how to smile. Her name was Adaaku, but no one called her that anymore. To the villagers, she was simply that widow, the one who lost everything and refused to move on. Every morning before the sun climbed above the palm trees, Mama Adaaku walked the dirt path to the river, the same river that had swallowed her husband 2 years ago, the same waters that returned his body bloated and cold 3 days later. The villagers watched her and shook their heads. "She has lost her mind," they whispered. "The river took her husband, the forest took her daughter, and grief took whatever was left." They were not entirely wrong. Mama Adaaku's compound had once been full of life. Chidubem's laughter used to echo from the backyard where he tapped palm wine. Somtochi's voice used to ring out as she pounded yam, singing songs her father taught her. Now the compound was silent. Somtochi, 16 years old, bright as the morning star. They found her at the bottom of the cliff on the forest path, her neck broken, her eyes still open. An accident, the elders declared. But Mama Adaaku remembered her daughter's questions in the days before she died. "Mama, why was Auntie Uloma near our compound so early that morning? The morning Papa went to the river?" Questions that now had no answers, questions buried with her daughter. Only one person still visited the grieving widow. "Sister, you must eat." Uloma stood at the entrance, holding a clay pot of egusi soup. She was 5 years younger than Mama Adaaku, but looked 10 years fresher. Smooth skin, bright eyes, a wrapper always clean and pressed. "I am not hungry," Mama Adaaku replied. "You say that always." Uloma stepped inside uninvited. "Chidubem would not want you to waste away." At her husband's name, Mama Adaaku flinched. Uloma set down the pot. "You spend too much time at that river. People say you talk to spirits." "Let them talk." "I am only worried about you, sister." Uloma smiled. "Perfect, practiced. The river cannot bring them back. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can heal." Then she was gone. That night, Mama Adaaku stared at the pot of soup. She did not eat it. She never did. Something about her sister's visits felt wrong. Not wrong in a way she could explain, wrong in a way she could only feel, like a stone in her chest, like a whisper she could not quite hear. But grief had taught her to ignore such feelings. Outside, the river flowed on in the darkness, patient, eternal, keeping secrets in its depths. And somewhere beneath those waters, something was waiting, something that had waited for 2 long years, something that was finally ready to speak. It started 3 days before the fish spoke. Mama Adaaku noticed it on a Tuesday evening as the sun melted into the river like palm oil spreading across water. She was pulling in her net, Another poor catch, when something golden flickered beneath the surface. At first, she thought her eyes were deceiving her. Grief did that sometimes. It made her see Chidubem's face in strangers. It made her hear Somtochi's laughter in the wind. But this was different. The fish circled her ankles slowly, deliberately, as if studying her. Its scales shimmered gold and copper, catching the dying light in a way that seemed almost unnatural. And its eyes, she could have sworn its eyes looked directly into hers. "Foolish woman," she muttered to herself. "Now you are imagining things in fish." She gathered her net and walked home. The next evening, the fish returned. This time, it swam closer. It brushed against her feet as she stood in the shallows, and Mama Adaaku gasped at the sensation. The touch was warm, too warm for river water, like a hand reaching out from somewhere far away. She stumbled backward, her heart pounding. The fish did not swim away. It stayed there, hovering just below the surface, watching her with eyes that held something she could not name. "What do you want?" she whispered. The fish flicked its tail and disappeared into the deep. On the third evening, everything changed. The sunset was the color of blood and fire, painting the sky in shades Mama Adaaku had never seen before. The air felt heavy, charged, as if the world itself was holding its breath. She waded into the river as usual, her net dragging behind her. But she was not thinking about fish. She was thinking about that golden creature, wondering if it would return, wondering why she even cared. And then she saw it. The fish rose from the depths like a spirit ascending from the underworld. Its scales glowed brighter than before, not just gold now, but blue, an ethereal, impossible blue that pulsed like a heartbeat. Mama Adaaku froze. The fish swam toward her, and before she could move, before she could breathe, it leaped straight into her open hands. The moment it touched her palms, light exploded around her fingers, warm, electric, alive. She tried to drop it, tried to scream, but her body would not obey. And then the fish opened its mouth. "Adaaku, my wife." The voice. She knew that voice. She had fallen asleep to that voice for 18 years. She had mourned that voice for 2. "It is Chidubem." Tears spilled down her cheeks before she even realized she was crying. "Our daughter did not fall," the fish continued, and now she could see him. A ghostly figure shimmering behind the creature, tall and dignified, just as she remembered. She was pushed. The net slipped from her fingers and floated away down the river. Mama Adaaku's knees buckled, and the world she thought she knew crumbled into dust. No. The word tore from Mama Adaaku's throat like a wounded animal. She scrambled backward through the shallow water, the fish still glowing in her trembling hands. "This is madness," she gasped. "I have finally lost my mind. The villagers were right. Grief has broken me." The fish did not struggle. It lay calmly in her palms, its blue light pulsing steady as a heartbeat. "You are not mad, Ada." That name, only Chidubem had ever called her that, only him in their quiet moments when the children were asleep and the world was soft. "Spirits do not speak through fish," she said, her voice cracking. "The dead do not return." "And yet here I am." She shook her head violently, water splashing around her. "Prove it. If you are truly my husband, prove it to me." Silence. Then the fish spoke again. "On our wedding night, you were so nervous your hands would not stop shaking. I held them in mine and sang the song my mother taught me, the one about the river that loved the moon. I sang until you fell asleep in my arms." Mama Adaaku's breath stopped. She had never told anyone about that night. Not her mother, not her sister, not even Somtochi. It was a memory she kept locked in the deepest chamber of her heart. "That could be a trick," she whispered, but her voice had lost its strength. "You have a birthmark," the fish continued, "shaped like a crescent moon, hidden beneath your left breast where no one but a husband would see." Her hand flew to her chest involuntarily. "Chidubem." "And on the morning I died," The voice grew heavy with sorrow. Our daughter came to me before dawn. She asked me why I looked troubled. I told her I had a difficult decision to make. She hugged me and said, "Papa, whatever you decide, I know you will do the right thing. You always do." The tears came now, hot, uncontrollable, streaming down Mama Adaku's face and falling into the river. "Those were her last words to me," the spirit said. "I carried them with me into death." Mama Adaaku collapsed to her knees in the water, clutching the fish to her chest. The light wrapped around her like an embrace she had longed for across 2 years of empty nights. "It is you," she sobbed. "It is really you. Yes, my wife, I have tried to reach you for so long, but the barrier between worlds is not easily crossed. It took time to gather the strength." "Why?" She looked at the ghostly figure shimmering above the fish, her husband's face, older and sadder than she remembered. "Why have you come back?" The light around the fish flickered, and when Chidubem spoke again, his voice was cold as the grave. "Because the woman who murdered me walks freely among the living, and she has already killed again." Mama Adaku's blood turned to ice. "Who?" she breathed. "Your sister, Uloma." "You are lying." The words left Mama Adaku's mouth, but even she did not believe them. Her body had gone cold despite the warm evening air. Her hands gripped the glowing fish so tightly her knuckles ached. "Uloma is my sister, my blood. She has cared for me since you died. She brings me food. She brings you poison disguised as love." The ghostly figure of Chidubem flickered, and his face twisted with an anguish that death itself could not erase. I did not want to believe it either, Ada, even as I watched her pour the powder into my palm wine, even as my body began to seize and burn from the inside. I thought, surely not Uloma. Mama Adaaku shook her head, her whole body trembling. Why? Why would she do such a thing? The silence that followed was heavier than grief. "Because she wanted what was yours," Chidubem finally said. "She wanted me." The river seemed to still. Even the crickets went quiet. "For years, your sister pursued me in secret. At first, it was small things, lingering touches, glances that lasted too long. I ignored them. I told myself I was imagining things. Mama Adaaku felt sick. She came to me one night while you were visiting your mother in the next village. Some thought she was just a child then, already sleeping. Uloma came to our compound and offered herself to me. No. I refused her, Ada. I swear on our daughter's spirit, I refused her. I told her I loved only you, that I would never betray my wife for anyone, least of all her own sister." The fish pulsed with blue light as Chidubem's voice grew darker. "She did not take rejection well, but she hid it. For years she smiled in your face while hatred festered in her heart. She watched our family, our happiness, and it poisoned her slowly." Mama Adaaku thought of all the times Uloma had visited their home. The laughter, the meals shared, the sisterly embraces, all of it a mask, all of it a lie. "The morning I died," Chidubem continued, "she came to me again, begged me one last time, said she could not bear watching me love you any longer. I told her I would tell you everything, that I was tired of keeping her shameful secret." His voice cracked. "That was my mistake. I should have told you years ago, but I did not want to destroy your relationship with your only sister. So I stayed silent. And she killed you for it. She poisoned my palm wine and watched me stumble to the river. When I fell in, too weak to swim, she stood on the bank and watched me drown. The last thing I saw before the water took me was her smile." Mama Adaaku doubled over and vomited into the river. Her sister, her own blood, the woman who had held her while she wept at the funeral, a murderer. Mama Adaaku wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, her stomach still heaving. The river water swirled around her knees, carrying away her sickness, but nothing could wash away what she had just learned. "There is more," Chidubem said. "More!" She laughed bitterly, a broken, hollow sound. "What more could there possibly be? My sister murdered my husband. What else is left to destroy? The ghostly figure above the fish seemed to dim, as if the weight of what came next was almost too heavy to speak. Somtochi! At her daughter's name, Mama Adaaku looked up sharply. Her heart, already shattered, began to crack in places she did not know existed. What about Somtochi? She saw, Ada. Our daughter saw. The world tilted. That morning, the morning I died, Somtochi woke before dawn. She saw Uloma leaving our compound in the darkness, moving quickly like someone who did not want to be seen. Mama Adaaku remembered. Her daughter's questions, the ones she had dismissed as childish curiosity. Mama, why was Auntie Uloma near our compound so early that day? At first, Somtochi said nothing, Chidubem continued. She was confused, grieving. But as weeks passed, she began to think, to question. She remembered that Uloma had brought palm wine the night before. She remembered that I had been fine until I drank it. No, Mama Adaaku breathed. No, no, no. Our daughter was clever, Ada. Too clever. She started asking Uloma questions, innocent ones at first. Where were you that morning, Auntie? Why did you bring Papa palm wine when you never did before? The fish pulsed with angry red light. Uloma saw the suspicion growing in Somtochi's eyes. She knew it was only a matter of time before our daughter connected the pieces, so she decided to silence her. Mama Adaaku could not breathe. Her chest was collapsing inward. That day in the forest, Somtochi did not fall, Ada. Uloma followed her to the cliff path. She called out to her, asked to walk with her, and when they reached the edge, "Stop." Mama Adaaku was sobbing now, her whole body convulsing. "Please stop." She pushed our daughter off the cliff, and then she walked back to the village and wept at the funeral like a grieving aunt. The scream that tore from Mama Adaku's throat sent birds scattering from the trees. It echoed across the river, filled with 2 years of grief that finally had a target, 2 years of pain that finally had a name. Her daughter had known. Her brilliant, beautiful daughter had figured out the truth, and she had died for it. Mama Adaaku looked at the fish, at the spirit of her husband, and something changed in her eyes. The grief was still there, but now it shared space with something else. Something harder, something darker, rage. "Tell me how to destroy her!" The ghostly figure of Chidubem flickered, and when he spoke again, there was urgency in his voice. "Listen carefully, Ada. We do not have much time." Mama Adaaku steadied herself, wiping the tears from her face with trembling hands. The rage inside her was a living thing now, coiled tight, waiting to strike. "I am listening. Uloma is not finished. She has been watching you these past 2 years, waiting to see if you would uncover the truth, but your grief made you blind, and she believed herself safe. Then why come for me now?" The fish pulsed with blue light. "Because you have started to remember. The questions Somtochi asked, you have been turning them over in your mind. Uloma sees it in your eyes. She sees the doubt growing where there was once only sorrow." Mama Adaaku thought of her sister's last visit, the way Uloma had studied her, the way her smile never quite reached her eyes. "You spend too much time at that river. People say you talk to spirits." She had been watching, measuring, deciding. "She is coming tomorrow," Chidubem said. "She will bring food, bitter leaf soup, your favorite. She will tell you that she is worried about you, that you must eat to regain your strength." "Poisoned?" "Yes, the same powder she used on me, tasteless, odorless. By the time you feel the burning in your stomach, it will be too late." Mama Adaku's jaw tightened. "Then I will refuse to eat." "That alone will not be enough. If you simply refuse, she will grow suspicious. She will find another way, another time. We must end this tomorrow, Ada. We must expose her before the entire village." "How?" The ghost of her husband moved closer, and for a moment she could almost feel his warmth, the way she used to feel it when he held her at night. "You must make her confess, and I will help you. A fish cannot testify before the village elders." "This fish can." Chidubem's voice carried a grim determination. When the moment is right, I will speak. Not just to you, to everyone. Let them hear a dead man's voice accuse his killer. Let them see the spirits demand justice. Mama Adaaku considered this. It was madness. All of it. A talking fish. A husband returned from the grave. A sister who had murdered her entire family. But madness was all she had left. Tell me what to do. When Uloma arrives, welcome her as you always do. Let her serve you the soup, but do not eat. Instead, tell her you had a dream. A terrible dream about Somtochi's death. A dream? Tell her you saw a woman's hands push your daughter from the cliff. Tell her you saw the woman's face but cannot remember it. Watch how she reacts. Mama Adaaku understood. Plant the seed of fear. Let guilt do its work. And when she breaks, I will be there. Keep me close, in a clay pot of water. When the moment comes, I will speak the truth for all to hear. Mama Adaaku looked down at the fish in her hands, glowing like vengeance made flesh. Tomorrow then. Tomorrow we end this. The sun was high when Uloma appeared at the compound entrance. Mama Adaaku saw her coming from the corner of her eye, that familiar figure in a bright yellow wrapper, carrying a clay pot with both hands, her smile already fixed in place like a mask carved from wood. Sister! Uloma called out, her voice dripping with sweetness. I have brought you something special today. Mama Adaaku sat near the fire pit, mending a fishing net she did not need to mend. Beside her, hidden beneath a piece of cloth, was a clay pot filled with river water. And inside that pot, a golden fish waited in silence. Uloma! Mama Adaaku forced her voice to remain steady. You did not need to trouble yourself. Nonsense! Uloma swept into the compound, setting her pot down near the fire. You are my only sister. Who else will care for you if not me? The words hit differently now. Every syllable felt like a knife, wrapped in silk. Mama Adaaku watched her sister ladle the soup into a wooden bowl, watched those hands move with practiced care. The same hands that had poured poison into Chidubem's palm wine, the same hands that had pushed Somtochi off a cliff. Eat while it is hot. Uloma pressed the bowl toward her. Bitter leaf soup with dried fish, your favorite since we were children. Mama Adaaku took the bowl, but did not lift it to her lips. I cannot eat, she said quietly. Uloma's smile flickered. Why not? Are you ill? I did not sleep last night. I had a dream, a terrible dream. Something shifted behind Uloma's eyes, a shadow quickly hidden. A dream? About what? Mama Adaaku stared into the bowl of soup, her reflection rippling in the dark liquid. About Somtochi. The name hung in the air like smoke. I dreamed I was at the cliff where she died, Mama Adaaku continued, her voice hollow. I saw her walking the forest path, gathering firewood, and then I saw someone behind her. Uloma's fingers twitched against her wrapper. Sister, dreams are just dreams. They mean nothing. This one felt real. Mama Adaaku looked up, meeting her sister's gaze. I saw hands reach out and push her. I saw my daughter fall, and I saw the woman's face, but when I woke, I could not remember it. Silence. Uloma's throat moved as she swallowed. You are exhausted, Ada. Grief is playing tricks on your mind. She gestured to the bowl. Eat. You will feel better. Will I? Mama Adaaku tilted her head. Tell me, sister, where were you the day Somtochi died? The mask cracked. Just for a moment, a flash of something dark and panicked in Uloma's eyes, before she smoothed it away. What kind of question is that? I was at home. You know this. Do I? The two sisters stared at each other across the fire pit. And beneath the cloth beside Mama Adaaku, the water in the clay pot began to glow. Why are you asking me these questions? Uloma's voice had changed. The sweetness was gone, replaced by something sharp and defensive. I am simply trying to remember. Mama Adaaku set the untouched bowl of soup on the ground. My mind has been clouded for 2 years, but lately things are becoming clearer. There is nothing to remember. Uloma stood abruptly, her wrapper swishing against her legs. Somtochi fell. It was an accident. The elders confirmed it. The elders did not see what happened. No one did. Mama Adaaku paused. Or did they? You have gone mad. Uloma stepped backward toward the compound entrance. I come here to help you, and this is how you repay me? With accusations? I have accused you of nothing, sister. Why are you so frightened? I'm not frightened. The shout echoed across the compound, loud enough to make the neighbor's dog bark, loud enough to draw Mama Okoro from her adjacent yard, peering over the low mud wall with curious eyes. Is everything well? The old woman called out. Everything is fine, Uloma snapped. Mind your own affairs. But Mama Okoro did not leave, and now others were gathering. Emeka the carpenter pausing on the path, 2 young mothers with babies on their hips, the palm wine tapper's apprentice. Umweke was a small village. Shouting was an invitation. Mama Adaaku rose slowly to her feet. Her hand reached down and pulled the cloth away from the clay pot beside her. The golden fish floated in the water, its scales pulsing with blue light. Uloma's face went pale. What? What is that? You know what it is. Mama Adaaku lifted the pot carefully, cradling it like a child. Or rather, you know who it is. You are mad! You have lost your senses completely! The fish began to rise in the water, its glow intensifying until the entire compound was bathed in ethereal light. The gathered villagers gasped, stepping closer despite their fear. And then the fish opened its mouth. Uloma. The voice was deep, resonant, unmistakable. Several women screamed. Emeka dropped his tools. Mama Okoro clutched her chest and began to pray. But Uloma stood frozen, her eyes wide as death itself. Uloma, you poisoned my palm wine and watched me drown. The spirit of Chidubem spoke through the fish, his voice carrying across the compound like thunder. And when our daughter discovered your crime, you pushed her from the cliff to protect your secret. No! Uloma stumbled backward, her hands raised as if to shield herself from the accusation. This is witchcraft, lies. She has conjured a demon to frame me. I am no demon. I am Chidubem, son of Okonkwo, husband of Adaaku. The fish pulsed brighter. And I have returned from the land of the dead to name my killer. The villagers pressed closer, their faces shifting from fear to fury as understanding dawned. Uloma looked around wildly, at the accusing eyes, at the glowing fish, at the sister she had betrayed. And then she broke. I loved him! The confession tore from Uloma's throat like a wounded beast finally releasing its pain. She collapsed to her knees in the dirt, her beautiful wrapper stained with dust and tears. I loved him before she ever did. I saw him first, at the river when we were young, but he chose her. He always chose her. The villagers stood in stunned silence as the truth poured out. I waited for years. I thought he would see me eventually. I thought he would realize I was the better choice. Uloma's voice cracked into sobs. But he refused me. He threatened to tell Adaaku everything. He was going to destroy me, so I destroyed him first. Mama Adaaku felt no satisfaction, only a hollow ache where her heart used to be. And Somtochi, she asked quietly. My daughter, your niece, your blood. Uloma's face twisted with something between grief and madness. She was asking questions. She saw me that morning. She was going to figure it out. I could see it in her eyes. I had no choice. You had every choice, Mama Adaku's voice thundered across the compound. You could have confessed. You could have begged for mercy. Instead, you murdered a child. The fish glowed one final time, and Chidubem's spirit spoke his last words. The ancestors have heard, the spirits have witnessed, justice belongs to the living now. The light faded, the fish went still, and all eyes turned to Chief Okafor, who had pushed through the crowd, his walking stick trembling in his weathered hands. Uloma, daughter of Magbeke, he pronounced, his voice heavy with disgust. You have confessed to the murder of Chidubem and the child Somtochi before witnesses both living and dead. The punishment is banishment, Uloma wailed, clutching at the earth. You will be taken to the cursed marshlands beyond the forest. You will wander there until the spirits claim you. No one from Umweke shall speak your name again. Two village men stepped forward and dragged Uloma to her feet. She screamed, thrashed, called out to her sister for mercy. But Mama Adaaku turned away. At dawn the next morning, Mama Adaaku walked to the river one final time. The fish lay quiet in her hands, its glow reduced to a gentle shimmer. She waded into the shallows where her husband had died, where her life had ended and begun again. Thank you, she whispered. Live, Ada. Chidubem's voice was faint now, fading like mist. Live for both of us. Live for Somtochi. She lowered her hands into the water and released the fish. It swam in a slow circle around her feet, then drifted toward the deep. And there, standing on the water's surface, she saw them. Chidubem, tall and whole, his hand resting on the shoulder of a girl with bright, curious eyes. Somtochi smiled and waved. Then they faded into the golden light of sunrise, and Mama Adaaku finally let herself weep, not from grief, but from peace. The river flowed on, and somewhere in its depths, the spirits rested at last. If this story touched your heart, do not leave without subscribing to this channel. Like this video if you believe that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, will always rise. Comment below, what would you do if someone you trusted with your life turned out to be your greatest enemy? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the dead may be silent, but they are never gone. Stay blessed, stay watchful, and we shall meet again in the next story.